So here we are with our side assemblies. We have our rabbet cut on each end of our long sides. There's also my board here. So on both of my boards, I cut them both at the same time in order to make sure that if I have any mistakes, that's the same mistake on both of them. So they fit snugly within here to my side, which they should because we didn't deal with the length at all. Now we want to continue working on our long sides. So if we look at our plans, it says that we need to also have a rabbet that runs along the bottom. So we did the rabbets on each end and a rabbet that's along the bottom. And there's a note here that says, well, it should be 1/4 of an inch, but it says the depth of this rabbet will be the same thickness as your bottom. Okay? So that means that the bottom is going to be fitting in there. So when we see that, it should prompt us to think, well, if there's going to be a rabbet on our long side, how is it going to fit? Are the short sides, are they going to be done the same way? Is there anything different with the short sides? So that prompts us to look forward, and if we notice that there's also a rabbet that runs along the bottom. And there's the same note that says the height of this cut will be the same as the thickness of your bottom piece. So if we just double check the measurements, okay, they're supposed to be the same thing. What we can do is we can hold off on that step for our long side, because when we make that cut, we're going to send all 4 pieces through at the same time. Just like when we planed all our legs to the same thickness, we sent them through all at the same time so that we could ensure that our miters line up and get a nice tight joint. We also sent the rabbet through at the same time, and that's again to ensure that if our rabbet height of our blade or width of our blade is off, well, it's the same on everything else. It's all about consistency and making sure that it matches up, and because they all have to come together, so they should all the same steps should be done at the same time. Because again, the odds of you coming here today, making your cut, coming back tomorrow and setting it up exactly the same way without being, within 128th of an inch, and even that's a little off. It's very slim. So you want to make sure that you send through all your pieces at the same time. Make the same mistake on all of them. Okay? So what we're going to do next is we're going to skip doing the rabbet on the bottom piece, and we're going to move on to our side, or our ends, I should say. So we have our ends, and it's a sub-assembly, and we see here that it's the same material, it's BC plywood, and our handle is solid pine. We're going to hold off on the handle, and we're just going to worry about the length. If at this point there's people on the machine, either on the chop saw or on the dado table saw or anything else, or you're done sanding, you can always start making your handle. Okay? So if anytime you can always look ahead to the next step, see if you can do that step out of order, which a lot of times you can, or you can always be sanding. So say I don't have these cut yet, say I don't have these rabbets cut, I can be sanding my plywood, because there's always something that you can do. So you should never just be sitting around. So again, if we look back to here, we have our length. Okay, so our length is supposed to be 12 inches. So the note says the length of these sides should be long enough that they press both the face of the sides, front and back, on the long sides, against the dado in the legs. So what that means is that it needs to be long enough so that it pushes the face of our long sides against the rabbet that we made on our legs. So again, here's our rabbet on our legs, and our face needs to be touching it. Okay, so if I find my marks here, they line up, this board goes on this side, and we have this board goes here. So now on this part, it may be helpful to get a partner, or you should be able to stand it by yourself. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure from this inside surface that we made right here on the dado table saw. So we're going to measure from here to here. And when we're setting this up, it said that the faces needed to be tight against the rabbet. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a nice tight joint. Okay? So we want to make sure that the faces of our boards are tight against that rabbet and not anything like that. What's going to end up happening is, if you can see that, there's going to be a gap. Obviously it's exaggerated a bit, but you want to make sure that it presses it tight against. And when we measure, make sure that's tight against on both sides. And when we measure here, it's going to be from this surface to that surface. And if you notice, I'm measuring at the bottom. So the reason why I'm measuring at the bottom is because, yeah, these are standing up by themselves, and they should be standing plumb, but you know, they may be tilted in a little bit. So if I measure up here, you know, I have this sort of action going on right here. And just by this example right here, you know, this is pretty close to 12. And if I come up here, well, now I'm already at 11 1/4. So it's telling me that right now these sides are tipping in towards each other. They're kind of making a gable end, like a house. So what I want to do is, again, make sure that it's tight up against the rabbet here and the rabbet on this side. Again, if you need a partner, go ahead, don't be afraid to ask, and then you should be able to take that measurement. Again, on this one too, I would suggest making it a little bit longer. Making use out of our plywood again, our BC plywood, the same material that we made our sides out of. We're going to measure, mark it in the center, measure twice, cut once. And again, I would leave it just a little bit longer, about an eighth of an inch or a 16th should do it, just in case there is just that little bit of wiggle room.